In the East, it's the Hawks and the Cavs. They're going to battle it out for the 8th seed, and then they get a date with Miami on the other side. And then in the West, you've got the Clippers, and you have them hosting the Pelicans for a chance to survive in advance. But their prize on the other side of all that is to face the Phoenix Suns. So welcome into NBA Today. I'm Malika Andrews, and we have a fabulous panel. We have two-time WNBA All-Star Shanae Ogwumike, Vince Carter, Vinsanity. And look who actually made his flight today.
Finally.
It is Kendrick Perkins. He missed it yesterday. I was really concerned. What happened?
You know, it's a long story, but we go stick to what Richard said, and they had a weight limit.
Wow. And with that, the playoffs, they're almost here, and we have so much news to get into on this show. So we're going to start in the Bay Area for an update on two-time MVP Steph Curry. And we're going to get it from Steph Curry himself. Who better to hear from? He was on the Draymond Green show earlier today.
How is your health? Like, are you expecting to be ready for game one? Are you not expecting to be ready for game? I also need to know this for my personal sanity as well. So how are you feeling as far as, being ready to play this weekend?
The goal has always been game one, but it's all like just dealing with the pain that comes with, the injury that I had in my foot. So, and, the wear and tear that comes with an injury like that. But the goal has always been game one. The goal still remains game one. Very optimistic that it will be game one. And whatever that means, like you said, I just want to be available. And we know what time of year it is. We ain't been in the playoffs for 2 years. It is kind of weird to think about that.
Yes, it is.
And I'm so freaking juiced because I know how much I love that environment. First time in this building, which will be interesting. So I don't want to miss none of it. So that's the goal.
All right, so Draymond Green said for his own sanity, for my sanity too, because that's the game that I have on Saturday, and I want to see Steph Curry. But Shanae, what's your reaction to what we just heard? And keep in mind, the Warriors are practicing as we speak, and we know Steve Kerr said that Steph needed to get a scrimmage under his belt before he was cleared to play.
I feel like if you're Dub Nation, you're really excited because you've got Steph. And again, this is the crew that has only played about 11 minutes together, but they have a lot of, feedback from, and things that they can carry on from the years past. Just knowing the offense, knowing their coach, knowing their system. And also they have a lot of guys that are playing confidently now. If you look at Klay Thompson, without Steph Curry, he's averaged about 26 points per game. Jordan Poole, without Steph Curry, he upped his average to about 25 points per game. Both guys 10 points less when Steph plays, but now they're coming in with a different swag, a different feel. And of course, having Draymond there, he's the engine that makes everyone go. Dub Nation has to feel real good. Everyone was a little worried, but the timeline worked out. And I'm glad that we have Steph come playoffs because, so far this season, we were so excited about the Suns. We saw the, Grizz really make a statement. The Warriors started off hot, and it seems like they're trying to recapture that magic. And they may be a little bit more fresh. A lot of their players feel like they're hitting their strides at the right time. And Steph, I'm just glad they listened to the timeline. He's excited to be out there. It's good for the Warriors, and it's good for basketball.
Well, it feels like the Warriors are, they had us in the first half, not going to lie. That's Warriors fans looking at Steph coming back right now. And Perk doesn't know this because he hasn't been in studio all week because he keeps missing flights. But it feels like every day this week we've grouped Steph with a Luka update. So we're going to do that again here. Here's what Jason Kidd said about Luka's status earlier today.
He's smiling, he's happy, he's in good spirits, and looks like he's improving.
Has he begun lobbying you? Try to convince you that he can play, start the search?
Yes, but hopefully at some point he does. Not right now, not today.
All right, so no, not right now, not today, but it sounds like...
That's what you heard? I didn't hear.
I was reading it.
I don't know what J. Kidd was talking about. What J. Kidd talking about?
It's not J. Kidd, it's the audience. Mark Cuban gets it. I mean, put somebody behind that.
Get about the fishbowl.
Well, then we're going to rely on institutional knowledge here because you actually played with Jason Kidd, Vince. So what advice would you give your former teammate as he prepares this group to face the Jazz, knowing there's some uncertainty? That's what we're going to take from what we just didn't hear, uncertainty surrounding Luka's
Well, first and foremost, I'm not going to tell J. Kidd much. He's a coach, and you see right there, he's like, no, he's not going to rush me. But if I'm talking to J. Kidd, I'm like, hey, just a reminder, don't rush Luka back. You're playing at home. You have home court advantage, and you want to lean on your role players to play well. We've heard Perk say all the time, role players play their best basketball at home. So this is an opportunity. Now, Put the ball in your point guard, Jalen Brunson. Let him run the offense, but play through Spencer Dinwiddie. Spencer Dinwiddie's been playing phenomenal basketball. He's now understanding how the offense is run and what is expected of him. So now you play through him. No hero ball, and you don't need for someone to play Luka's role because Luka is one of one, and he does what he does, and he plays at his own pace. So right now, you just say, hey, everybody just do your thing, play your role.
Yeah, and also this is a team that ever since New Year's has the 4th best defense in the NBA. So you can at least say, hey, if we go out there and play our signature defense and Spencer Dinwiddie, who's averaged about 30 points without Luka in those 2 or so games, he's going to be more confident. He's had a great post-trade deadline, type of situation. They can still hold on, especially, like you said, Vince, starting at home.
Yeah, but who's anchored a lot of that defense in the second half of the season?
Oh.
Yeah, all right. I'm just going to say this. Luka, check. Steph, check. We're about 5.5 minutes into the show, and we haven't had a Ben Simmons update. I actually like my job, so let's just get to one right now. Simmons, he posted to his Instagram stories last night. I really don't know what this means. I've stopped trying to sort of decode the emoji shoe pick type deal. So let's just go to someone who might know a little bit more. Here's Kevin Durant and Steve Nash earlier today.
No, I'm not expecting him to play. That's easier for me, like I'm not putting any pressure on Ben to come out there and hoop, so I'm not expecting him to do anything but just to get his body right and get healthy as fast as he can, so in my mind I'm preparing as if like we're playing with the team we have.
It's up to Ben. Ben's back. It's not up to me or any of us other than his back and how we can help that resolve. Great, but there's a chance Ben comes back. There's a chance he doesn't come back. So I think for us, we got to focus on the group, support Ben and his journey to get back on the floor. But at the same time, we don't have time to lose focus on the group that's playing.
I feel like that has to be the mentality that we're just going to go forward with the group we have until that group changes. Senior writer Brian Windhorst joining us now. Brian, maybe you know a little bit more. What is the current timeline you're hearing for when Simmons might return?
Well, Malika, before I even tell you this, I am admittedly very surprised to hear this. So I want to get that out first. I am told that the goal for Ben Simmons is to return in game 4, 5, or 6 of this series with the Celtics. My immediate response to that is he even playing 5-on-5 yet? And the answer to that is no, but that is hopeful in the next couple of days. So I will say that as I have routinely checked on Ben Simmons over the last 2 months, I have continued to hear pessimism. But everything changed in this last few days to optimism from people behind the scenes. So take that for what it's worth. He has not played in 11 months. He has not had a full practice. But the words game 4 were said to me. So I guess we'll wait and see. Like Steve Nash says, there's a chance.
Well, Wendy, that's the first time that I've heard a specific game or time frame mentioned when it comes to Ben Simmons. Thank you so much for that information. I have to kick it around with our panel here, though, because, I'm just, you know what? I'm going to get out the way. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing, right? I mean, at this point in time, why would you even want to bring Ben Simmons back in the heat of the moment when you're playing against the Celtics with no reps behind his belt, up under his belt? And then on top of that, you're not going to play 5-on-5 in the postseason at practice because guys are not scrimmaging like that. Coaches, right? You're going against coaches, okay? And now you're expecting him to come back at the highest level to actually defend and possibly have to guard a guy like Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown after not playing in 18 months and you're dealing with back issues. Like, it makes zero sense. So I respect Kevin Durant for what he said because he's being real. No, I don't expect him to be back. I'm preparing myself to go out there and play without him. And that's the right mindset to have.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking, though, but for Kevin Durant, thinking back to last year, Chiney, why would he have any other mentality after not knowing if and when Kyrie Irving's going to be available, after not knowing if and when James Harden was going to be healthy? Why would this man have any sort of, I'm going to wait on Ben Simmons before I really...
And also 2 years ago where he had himself, a catastrophic injury and it's like, I don't want to be rushed back in the middle of a season. And, you have that experience of, I know what it's like to be injured. I know what it's like to really rebuild the team because that's what we're trying to do right here in Brooklyn. And I know that timelines matter. And so I was very relieved to hear KD say that. And by the way, he's been speaking that truth serum because it's like, let's respect our opponents. Let's make sure we show up with whoever's out there. Like, KD is focused and locked in.
I do want to point this out, though. Take a look at the schedule. And this comes down to, this is a marquee TV matchup. Let's not get it twisted. But April 17th is Game 1. There are 10 days between Game 1 and Game 5. This is not a series where it's every other day they're playing 2-day travel and then picking it up again. This is primetime TV, and so they have a little bit more time here before we're looking at Game 4, Game 5, Vince.
Well, only thing I'll say is, Ben can get some play with some players with the DMP guys. That's the only thing I'm saying. He can play with the DMP guys and then go from there. Other than that, you just like you said, you just build them up until you either have them or you don't. But I wouldn't put out there, oh, he could possibly come back. It's looking
so
like
Sharp
this.
And Ben Simmons hanging out.
You just build him up until he is ready. If he's not, he's not.
Well, let me give Steve Nash some advice, okay? You're going into the postseason and you're playing a dangerous Boston Celtics team, and you have a team that right now in yourself with the Nets are somewhat playing some good basketball. You want to make sure that team stay the course. You don't want to have outside or inside distractions, whether or not Ben Simmons is coming back. Like, you want to be locked in on the moment. You don't want to have to be talking about or having guys feel, oh, what if Ben is going to come back? No, focus on Jason Tatum, focus on Jaylen Brown, focus on Marcus Smart, focus on the task that's in front of you. If Ben Simmons comes back, let them surprise you and say, hey, coach, he's ready.
I love that you term that as inside noise, because so often I hear people say, oh, the outside noise. I'm like, we're asking about something that's in your own locker room. That is inside noise. But since Perk's already fired up, it's time to talk about the Celtics on the other side. They've been without Robert Williams since March 27th. So here's what head coach Ime Udoka said about how he's recovering.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting on court, basketball drills, and so mixing in pretty much everything. I don't know what touch specifically means. I'm not sure if I said that on accident, but he's getting on the court, not contact, but any basketball drill, getting a lot of shots up, obviously weight bearing, strengthening, agility, and anything like that. So it's low level, but he's ramping it up day by day a little bit more and feeling good about it.
Perk, what's your reaction to what you just heard?
It's great news because Robert Williams is so valuable. And you know how valuable he is? We all had our first car, right? What's the one thing that we wanted in that vehicle? A radio. Right? When you want a radio, when you you need a radio. And so Robert Williams is actually that radio that needs to be in that car for the Celtics, because we already know what he brings on the defensive end, his defensive prowess, the way he's able to protect the basket. But offensively, he is so valuable being that lob threat at the basket because he's able to open up floor spacing. Also, when he goes down to the dunker spot, it allows Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart to attack with aggression, because if you're a defender, all of a sudden you're leery or scared to actually leave Robert Williams because you're scared of him being that lob threat. So now they're laying it up at the basket with no contest. So if they could get Robert Williams back in this series healthy, it changes everything.
Well, and guess what? Woj is reporting that Robert Williams, he could be available by the end of this first round. Did we just hear Game 4, Game 5, Game 6?
But that's inside noise as well, though.
So
Think about it. I mean, you just wait until he comes back.
All I'm saying is,
I'm putting 2 and 2 together.
When you say ramping up, what does that actually mean, though? You know
ramping up can take a cool minute. Ramping up can take a cool minute.
That's my only thing.
It's not about
you throw that
rushing.
ramping up. You're like, the guys, like you said, worry about the task at hand first, and then when you get Robert Williams.
Social media, and he also expanded after the loss.
I was upset about a couple calls, really. And I let my temper get the best of me. That was definitely the wrong thing to do by throwing my mouthpiece. I was aiming for the guy that was screaming at me, and it hit a little girl. So that's definitely unacceptable on my part, and I take full responsibility. I'm ready for any consequence that the NBA gives me. But yeah, that's on me. That's out of character for me. You've been around me. I don't act like that or never flash out like that. So. That was definitely wrong, a lot of emotions. And hopefully I could get in contact with the young girl and sincerely apologize to her, and do something nice for her. But that's definitely on me.
I mean, clearly he feels badly about that. You're already biting your tongue. I'll get out of your way.
Yeah, you know what? Because ask yourself why. Why did you even have to throw a mouthpiece? Or why were you even thrown out of the game? Or why did you even get that technical foul? You were frustrated because the Hawks was giving y'all a spanking, okay? And y'all wasn't prepared for the moment.
Yeah,
and what ended up happening was that you approached this like some regular season game, and it wasn't. And so that goes to my mindset of this team is really not focused. They have all the talent in the world, but they're not there for us culture-wise and focused and locked in. And so when I think about a guy like Miles Bridges, just think about this for a second. At the beginning of the season, he was the leading candidate for most improved.
Yes.
All of a sudden, he fell straight off the radar.
He was in that conversation 2 years ago, too.
Yeah, exactly. And so what happened then? Okay, we see the rap videos. By the way, I'm a big fan. The young fella
By the
got
way,
bars.
yes. He definitely
got
has
bars.
bars.
Okay, we see all this transpiring, but at the end of the day, this is those teaching moments that I want to have or get out there to the world about, to the young fellas of remember what your job is. Never take it for granted. The outside stuff could wait, but lock in completely on what's in front of you, and that's to play the game of basketball and get better and finish the season off like you started.
And that's exactly what we tell the next generation. Keep the main thing, right? Mm-hmm. But when I watch that, I'll just, I know we get in trouble for singing, but it's like, it's just emotions. That takes me. Oh, like, it's completely
She's loving to be featured on a Miles Bridges track.
Thank you. I'm looking for it. Let me get on the remix. But if you think about the situation, it's not just 2 years ago that he was most improved, as you astutely mentioned, Malika. It's also 2 years ago that I think it's back-to-back years that they get bounced out of the play-in, right? So if you're looking at a situation, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just off the top of my head. You look at a situation where, all right, you have players that are individually growing. You have the team looks like they have fun, right? But you get in these circumstances where when the pressure's on the line, they really crumble. They started off the year really strong. And then now you have to think, all right, this is where the maturation has to come. And this is one point where you can say, all right, the magnifying glass is on me. Let's make sure as a unit we improve from here forward. But that is completely unacceptable.
And to add to that, they have to understand there's levels to the season. There's preseason approach, there's regular season approach, and then there's play-in into the playoff approach.
Which is the playoffs for them.
You put, like you said, exactly. And what you say, you put the outside noise behind you. You put all of the things that you want to do behind you, because now you're trying to get into the play-in tournament, or you're trying to win a playoff series, so everything else doesn't matter. What matters is your focus on your game plan and all that things. So like you said, telling young guys, I always tell young guys, your job, yes, you're in the NBA. Enjoy that, but take this seriously. This is a business. Now, they're paying you to be stars. They're paying you to be prepared, and I don't think they were prepared.
Well, and then to add on to that, look, I believe that Miles Bridges is going to get his lettuce, right? But just think, he turned down the contract extension, and now you're up to get your bread. I always used to tell the young fellas, don't do anything and be mindful to mess up them or give them any reason not to give you your money. And you have to be mindful of that, and that comes with being focused.
Absolutely. But you know who was focused? The Hawks. The Hawks. And I mean, Trae Young didn't even have his best start to the game. He finished strong. No John Collins. I mean, they're hitting their stride at the right time. Trae was your all NBA.
Oh, yeah.
So far, all my
and you on an island by yourself.
Once again, having spacing that allows him to work. Where's the help? The help defense feels like, oh, by myself. You know what I'm saying?
That's what he is.
He loves to go left, but this time takes the contact and finish right, Malika.
Well, and he was perfect in the second quarter. 7 of 7, 19 points. It begs the question, Janae, is he the most valuable player that was traded at the
Ooh, I know Harden's out there, but he's making a case for himself, but so is B.I. Look at that finish. CJ has been tremendous. President was balling, and the Pelicans get the win.
Hey, this is the start of something special for sure. You can see the energy, feel the energy. I got my mother's in town. I've had some family come in town, and when they go out to eat and things of that nature, you can kind of feel, the city is starting to be excited about basketball, as they should. There's a lot of talent here. We're hungry. We're playing the game the right way, and there's going to be a lot of winning in our future. So I think this is indicative of the type of support we'll have going forward. I'm happy about it. I'm excited. And I think, obviously we got to go try to take care of business in LA, but once we get back here, I look forward to seeing more sellouts. I'm sure the fans do, and we'll reward them with a high level of play, a high level of energy, and we'll leave it all out there on the court.
As a side, A+ suit, CJ. All right, the Pelicans, they seek to become just the 4th team in NBA history to make the playoffs after starting 1-12 or worse, playing just over 500 basketball. Since then, they would be the first team to do so since the 96-97 Suns team that acquired Jason Kidd at midseason. That's a discussion for another day, though. Before the game, Zion Williamson, 360 dunk here in warmups, which I know it got Twitter buzzing a little bit. He threw it down. To dive a little bit farther into that, though, we welcome back in Brian Windhorst. And I know Brian is locked into the Pelicans. And when I'm watching this, it's like, oh, man, I kind of am excited. You want to see it. But the Pelicans and Zion, what's the latest on when he might return?
You're talking about practice, Malika, not a game. So here's the thing on Zion. He will not play tomorrow, obviously. And the organization says he is out indefinitely, and there is no plans to play him if they advance to play the Phoenix Suns. Zion wants to play. Zion's stepfather has said as much in a recent interview. He obviously is working back towards it, but right now they are more focused on getting him healthy enough to be ready for the start of next season. If the Suns make some sort of miracle upset and get through the Suns and extend their run, could we revisit this? Maybe, but right now I would not plan on seeing him.
A miracle upset? I almost feel like that's an understatement, Brian. Thank you so much for that information and that update. To dive a little bit farther into this, Vince Carter, what you got? I know you're the dunk king. What do you make of the dunk?
Oh, man, everybody's excited about the dunks, and they look good, but it's not about going up. It's about coming down. So I have a couple of things just to be leery of and just to throw your eyes on. Can we roll the tape real quick? Yes, he has the right injury, and the dunk looks great. But let's talk about, this is a big body landing on that right leg. That's a lot of pressure.
And
a lot
it's
of pressure.
straight.
Yeah, and it's straight. So, and then you see on the landing, it's a little wobble, little limp back there.
Yeah,
now you got to get back. He does,
little
but that's a little more falling forward. You know what I'm saying? It makes you a little concerned. One more tape. One more thing to look at here. Can we roll it?
Kwaku, baby.
Now, this is nice right here, but there's all the pressure. Now, watch. Let's watch the landing. You see, when he goes up, he catches it. Ooh, it looks good going up, but we just that soft landing going down. And let's watch him fall forward, taking the pressure off of it. So now, old school Vince Carter, if I dunk right now at 40, whatever, I'm going to land. Let's just make sure I'm good. Make sure I'm good. What say you? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, one, I really can't come in and and voice my opinion in the conversation with you and Zion as far as dunking.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, look, until you brought that up, I never noticed that because my first reaction was if he's doing all this, why isn't he playing? But here's another thing, and I'm not trying to get off subject, but Malika brought it to us and she was saying, Windhorst said that his father said he wants to play. I'm tired of hearing from his father. Can we hear from Zion?
I agree.
At the end of the day, your father can't continue to speak up for you your entire NBA
You know,
career.
the only beef we have on this show was actually about Zion, and I might say you're right. You're right. We want to hear more so from Zion, or at least, he's doing the right thing showing up, but we don't need any of the side conversation.
And we know why he's doing it. He's showing that, hey, they don't want me to play, but I can play. Can't you see? Here's what I'm doing. And they're trying to, as players, sometimes we need the organization to save us from ourselves.
Yes.
And that's one of the things, just watching that video as an old guy and as a former dunker and coming off an injury, those are the things that they're protecting him from. Because now after he does a spectacular dunk, what do you need him to do? Get back in transition.
100%.
And then now you're going to start compensating and hurt something else. So you see right here, now after you do this a lot, it's the compensation, something else.
You're right.
Our chain is important to
You know
us.
what happens when you get older, right? Because your girl hit the 3rd floor, she's 30 now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You get no breaks. So, all right.
And one-time champion, Pascal Siakam.
Siakam! Oh, what a slam!
Both from Cameroon. The league also has 50 players with a parent born on the continent, like two-time NBA MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis goes airborne and sends it down.
Whose parents hail from Nigeria. Knowing the amazing that could be possible with better facilities, coaching, and promotion of the game, the NBA created the Basketball Africa League in 2020 to build the foundation for greatness to eventually come in much higher numbers from Africa.
Africa is a continent that's full with treasure that need to be hunted. And that's what we're doing right now. We're just hunting for those treasures. And every time we go for the hunting and we keep discovering more talent and more gift.
The 4th pick in the 1991 NBA draft, the Denver Nuggets select Dikembe Mutombo.
I remember when I got drafted and be there in the stage with our late commissioner, David, and shaking his hand. He knew that I was not going to be the last one come down from the continent. He said, son, I want to see more of you in the league.
We said, there's something here, right? There's a hunger for it, a demand for our game here. And so how do we start thinking about what that would look like?
Look at Miami Heat, how many Nigerian players, African players everywhere. Look at college basketball. Look at the National Football League. Everywhere, Africans.
When you see guys like Giannis and Embiid and Siakam, and what kind of comes to your mind when you see the success those guys are having now?
There are the few answers the puzzle that need to be solved, that the continent still have more. Siakam and Joel and Giannis, but nobody have not come to them yet. And those kids are there. They are looking for the opportunity. There's so many millions of them.
The great impact has begun. I'll say it. 2 years ago, who was the MVP of the league? Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's not Greek, he's African. He's Nigerian. Let's be real.
We are only scratching the surface, but all indication is that it's a very, very bright future.
The Basketball Africa League is now in its second season, with 12 teams from 12 different countries vying for a title in Rwanda in late May. The NBA's hope is that the BAL will grow to bring more interest in the game of basketball to Africans.
I'm so happy the direction that the African basketball is going. We have more young people who are playing basketball than they ever.
For young boys and girls to be able to say, you know what, I can play professional basketball at a high level without ever having to leave the continent.
And now we're welcoming in the Anscape's Mark Spears. And Mark, you've been busy working on pieces, traveling to Africa. And then you also had a piece drop this morning, that I read before my drive into work today on Celtics head coach Ime Udoka. So you are everywhere right now. But for Udoka, how is he approaching his first postseason as a head coach here?
You know, I think he's taken a lot of lessons that he had from Popovich, a lot of lessons that he has as a former NBA player. And, the Nets certainly won't be any joke. But if you look at the Celtics in the way that Udoka has led them from the beginning of the year, you could certainly say they've played as well as any team in the league. And Jason Tatum told me, look, they brought a new coach in, a new coaching staff in. It was going to take some time. But once they figured out Udoka's system, man, the Celtics have been a powerhouse. And if Robert Williams could come back, perhaps what Udoka said, bring back that needed 18th championship to Boston.
Yeah, I love that final quote of your piece where he said essentially 18, banner 18. That's all we hear around here. And if you can be the person who gets that 18th banner to the fans, to the organization, to the players, you are immortalized in Celtics history. And by the way, we know you're not your cousin Marcus Spears. Mark Spears, thank you so much for joining us. Game 1 of the Nets Celtics is Sunday, 3:30 Eastern on ABC. Ooh, that is going to be a good series. And speaking of, we are joined now by lead sportscaster on ABC 7 New York, Ryan Field. Thank you so much for being here for another segment of Home Court Advantage. I just want to jump right in here. When it comes to these Brooklyn Nets, obviously this team is a huge deal nationally. How are they viewed locally in New York City?
Well, Malika, I think the word that comes to mind is indifference. And it's really similar to what goes on in Los Angeles between Laker fans and their attitude towards Clipper fans. You have to remember the Nets didn't even move to Brooklyn until 2012. So they've only been in town for 10 years. And Knicks fans have this kind of I don't care attitude. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving spurned the Knicks a couple years ago, opting to play with the Nets instead. And to be honest with you, that's probably been the biggest reaction by Knicks fans towards the Nets over these last couple of years, and the fact that they've lost 7 in a row to them in the head-to-head matchups. But most of all, overall, when you look at the big picture here in New York, it's kind of indifference, and they're really a much bigger story nationally than they are locally, as hard as that is to believe.
I will say, though, when I was walking around New York when I was there, I feel like I saw a couple more Kevin Durant jerseys than I did a year ago, a couple more Kyrie jerseys than I did a year ago. What's the mood of the Nets fans? Obviously, we know that they have their hands full with the Celtics here, and I know you said those Nets fans aren't as big as the fan base of the Knicks, but what are they thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, the Nets fans are excited, and rightfully so. You have a team that has championship aspirations, and I think the more this team has won over the last couple of years, I think you're right. You have seen more Nets jerseys around Manhattan, but I think if you're breaking up the fan bases here in New York, in the tri-state, or in the 5 boroughs, I should say, it's probably 80-20 Knicks fans to Nets fans, and even that might be cutting it a little short. So I think, you know, the fan base is confident. I think when you look at the big picture, too, with the Nets, as far as how they're concerned, I mean, they've dealt with so much drama this season. When you talk about all the COVID cases, when you talk about Steve Nash getting COVID, Kevin Durant getting injured, Kyrie Irving's vaccination status and those mandates finally disappearing, and then all the James Harden drama to boot, there's this strange sense of calm now over the Nets as they get ready to begin what they hope will be a long season run, postseason run. Will that calm be enough to beat the Celtics in the first round? We'll have to wait and see, but I know it's going to be one heck of a matchup, and we can't wait.
If you have Kevin Durant.
The Timberwolves are going to the playoffs.
At what point did you know that you were jumping on the scorer's table and your jersey was heading into the stands?
Yeah, night before.
This is how we do it.
It's Friday night. All right, Pat Bev and the Wolves are one of 4 games on ESPN and ABC on Saturday night. What a lineup we have. But I know Big Perk is locked into that game in Memphis.
That's right. The playoffs are here. The best time for me, because I needed to see who want all the smoke. And I know 2 guys that want all the smoke are 2 of my favorite young players, Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant. We heard Ja Morant say he run up the chimney looking for the smoke. We heard Anthony Edwards say, hey, call me Black Jesus. You know why? Because he's able to save himself. Now I want to know who has the edge. So we have a list of categories, and we about to see who gets the edge over between Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant. Up first, generational talent. It's a tie. It's a tie. You know why? Because not just one, but both of these guys are generational talent. When you look at what they bring to the table, both of these guys are unique. You will never see another Ant-Man, and you never see another Ja Morant. So since that's a tie, we got to move on down. Swag and marketability. Uh-oh, Ja up 1. Okay, here's the reason why. No disrespect to Ant-Man. We know he has swag. We know he has the smile. But when you talk about Ja Morant, the drip, the ice, the grill, the iced out watch, whether there's a Rolex or not, I don't even know. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at Ja Morant as the little baby of the NBA. Next up, social media game. Anthony Edwards say, I got to bounce back, Perk, give me one. And he's definitely right. We see Ja Morant, he interacts with people on Twitter. He's always tweeting, very fun, and I get that. But he ain't doing what Anthony Edwards doing. Hey, you see the swag, you see the drip, you see the dance move, look at the shoulders. You know where he's from, Atlanta, Georgia. Magic City style. Look at him in his Halloween costume walking the streets. Doing it. Hey, that's so social media to his fine.